The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, we do encourage you to like and share them on social media because it's time for the African American Scene, presented by Howard Insurance in Port St. Lucie and hosted by Rudy Howard.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Always glad to be with you here on a Wednesday night. Ooh, boy, do we have a lot of stuff going on. My.
You think there's enough?
I'll say.
Think you might get a phone call tonight?
Probably.
We love the calls.
Yes. I didn't even get through half of my agenda last week because the calls got pretty hot, but that's okay. Mm-hmm. I got a gift certificate. We're going to continue with my trivia. Mm-hmm. This gift certificate was not picked up, so you're going to get a shot at it. Interracial, hard as it's going to be for you to believe, interracial marriage was outlawed in 1664, and it was finally overturned in what year and in what state was interracial marriage overturned? There was a prohibition on interracial marriage from 1664 to what year and in what state was that thrown out?
What were they afraid of? Wow.
Well, when you think it being 2020, that it was against the law for two people of a different race to marry, I guess if you can go back and look at that time frame, I guess that's not so unbelievable. But what's unbelievable, how long it took for him to finally overturn that. But anyway, so if you have the answer, that number is 340-1590. And if you have the answer, you're going to get a gift certificate to Lynn Irby's, Dr. Lynn Irby, for a free eye exam.
She's been on the show, hasn't she?
Yes, she has. Yes, she has been on the show. Yeah. And full disclosure, she's my neighbor and my good friend. Her and her husband, Ed, are two of my favorite people. Now, let me give you up to date on a piece of information that caused me and Chuck to have a fallout. The 11th Circuit Court ruled that you could not prohibit ex-felons from voting because they owed fees. It was unconstitutional. Now, there's only one last stop, and by the way, that was a unanimous decision, 3-0. Okay, 3-0, it was ruled that they were not going to allow Florida to block people's vote because they owed fees after serving their incarceration. That's good stuff. We'll talk more about the vote because I got some thoughts about that. But we got Tom on line one. Yes, Tom.
I believe it was 1967 in Virginia.
Yes, sir.
Ding, 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 ding. Winner.
Tom,
okay.
You got it, Tom.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
You know where the studio's located?
No, I don't.
4100 Metzger Road in Fort Pierce. And
Well, Cliff, take them offline.
yeah,
and
I'll
then
take you off the air, and I'll
Yeah.
get your number so that you can identify yourself when you arrive
Yeah,
to pick
and
up your prize.
And we'll put the sticker on here, Tom, so you can come pick up your certificate. You want to make any comments before I turn you over to Cliff?
Love the show and keep doing the great work.
Thank you, sir. All right.
Okay, I'll be right with you on the phone. Hang on there, Tom.
Okay, so as I said, this particular issue was the issue that caused me and Chuck to fall out because he was strongly in favor of prohibiting people from voting if they owed any fees. And the 11th District Court said what most of us felt. It was nothing but a disguised poll tax meant to prohibit a class of people from being able to vote. And I feel very strongly about this because they went about it the right way. They got the signatures, they put it on the ballot, and it won. By more than 60% of the people felt it was right that they should have their rights restored after they had served their time if they were not violent felons. And I think it was a shame that they tried to overturn that after people went about it the right way and got it legally done. No shenanigans, no tricks. They went out and got the signatures, put it on the ballot, and the people spoke. The people wanted those ex-felons to have their voting rights back. And the governor then turned around and tried to take them away again. And I am very happy about that. And the last remedy for them is to take it to the Supreme Court. But from what I read, I'm not a lawyer, it seems to me they were pretty firm in their reasoning about why that was wrong. So, that's an update.
Well, if you pay your debt to society, you should get your rights back because it's a debt that you pay, and when it's paid, well, if you don't get your rights back, that's not your debt's not paid or paid back.
I have always felt that was wrong. Not all states do that, but I think that is so wrong. Somebody goes to jail, they do their time, they screwed up, they did a bad thing, they paid for it, and they did their time, and they were a decent human being. Give them their rights back. But you know why they don't want to give them their rights back? They presuppose that most of the people that would get their rights back would be Democrats.
That's fair to say.
You know what I mean? So that's.
But the demographics and all involved with it all make the whole thing ugly.
Yeah.
Because you take, the average 19-year-old lawbreaker that goes to prison. Okay, who gets the longer sentences? The black guys or the white guys?
No, we know that. It's the black guys.
And who's more likely to get, roughed up by the police more often than others? And we know the answer to that, too. That's not a mystery. It's a fact.
Yes, it is.
You know?
But anyway, now let me tell you something else. You know, over the past couple of years, I've seen some pretty nasty incidents on Facebook where people were getting after people for speaking Spanish, okay? So let me give you some insight. I want you to absorb this, and listen to me very carefully as I provide you with this information. Spanish was spoken in California 79 years before English. Okay? I want you to catch that again now. Spanish was spoken in California 79 years before English.
You want to hear one more very interesting fact associated with that?
Okay.
Spanish is probably the most spoken language on the whole planet. There's more people who speak Spanish on the planet than any other language.
I believe that. I don't know that to be a fact, but I certainly believe that could be true.
It's verifiable. Yeah, you can check that out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Here's another one. Spanish has been spoken in Arizona 149 years before English.
Yep.
Okay? Spanish has been spoken in Texas 147 years before English. Spanish has been spoken in Florida 40 years before English. So why am I telling you all of this? So when you go somewhere and you hear somebody say, This is America. Speak English.
Uh-oh.
You are being an ignorant fool.
Actually, it's an H word. Hypocrisy. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, you mentioned some of those states used to actually be Mexico.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
They did. So when I want you to think about the next time you feel inclined to want to tell somebody to speak English, remember they were speaking Spanish in this country before they were speaking English. So that's just a little food for thought. So the next time that you're there and you say, well, I don't think they should be speaking Spanish, maybe you should learn how to speak Spanish.
They're just paranoid, thinking that they're talking bad about you because you don't understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
That's what we all do.
And sometimes they do speak so that you can't and talk about you so you don't understand.
I don't blame them.
Yeah. So what you do is you learn how to speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Okay? Nothing wrong with that. Matter of fact, we're very arrogant in America.
Oh, yeah.
Most of the countries of the world are bilingual, and many of them are trilingual. We're one of the few countries in the world that is monolingual. But if you go to matter of fact, if you've traveled, most of the places where you go, they speak their tongue and your tongue.
Yeah.
So just give that some thought.
And some of them speak English better than we do.
Yes. So why would I spend the time to tell you that? Because some of the things that we turn into politics and things that we argue about are really just dumb and don't make a whole lot of sense. But we have Winnie on line one. Yes, Winnie.
How y'all doing over there?
Okay.
All right.
I had I hear myself talking.
You do?
Oh, do you have the radio turned
Well,
up?
then turn your radio down.
My radio's off.
Oh, your radio's off.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
I don't have it on at all.
All right.
It must have y'all is.
How about now? I pushed a button that might have made it go away because I know some phones are different from other phones. Is it okay now?
Okay, then it's clear.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I saw it on CNN, and I asked you last week about I get Social Security, and they say that people will be getting on checks. People on Social Security, Disability, SSI. So they said I'll be getting $1,200. That's what I wanted to clear it up.
Yeah.
Remember last week I asked you about,
Yeah, and I said to you at that point that if you didn't file taxes, then it would be.
file taxes.
Well, I told you your Social Security income is taxable.
All right. I have work, though. Yeah.
Well, no, your Social Security or your disability income is taxable. So what I was telling you is that it would be difficult, maybe not impossible, since you're getting a disability payment, to identify you in order to pay you the money. But now, I want you to think about this. This is what your president's trying to do right now. He's trying to eliminate the $1,200 payment from anybody that gets disability or Social Security. I saw that this afternoon.
I didn't hear that.
I did. I read that this afternoon. I don't know if he's going to be successful, but he's got Steve Mnuchin working on the fact they don't want anybody who gets Social Security or disability payments to receive the $1,200 check. That's your president.
Yeah.
I've got a sensible answer to that.
You heard that today?
Huh? I saw
heard that today.
Today. I saw that today on a news flash on the internet that they were trying to make that happen. I don't know if they'll be successful because everything that I'd seen.
He already started the bill last Friday.
Yes, but this is just a subsection of the bill that he's trying to stop. Let's just hope he doesn't do it. I know you could use the $1,200.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sure can. Lord, that's going to be a lot of more other people who don't get Social Security.
Yeah.
My neighbor, they get Social Security disability, get somebody get SSI.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling. I heard on CNN about Nancy Pelosi. I don't know how true this is. I don't know if you heard about it, too. In that bill, put it in a stimulus package, they said that she was trying to put $35 million into the pay to pay for the Kennedy Center. You heard of that? You heard about that?
To refurbish the Kennedy Center?
$35 million. Try to put that into the stimulus package.
Okay.
And and they said Donald Trump. Now when they called that, they said, "Oh no, Nancy, it's not the time or the place, but it's here for helping the people, but not for those Kennedy Center." You have not heard about that at all?
Yes, I have heard about that.
Oh, she didn't try to put that into the package for the cure. What the Kennedy Center got to do with the stimulus money? I don't understand.
Okay, well let me help you. Okay, if that bothers you, if you let somebody convince you that bothers you, let me give you something that really should bother you. Last year, we gave $1.5 trillion tax cut to big business. That was our money. We gave a $1.5 trillion tax cut to big business. They turned around and took that money and did corporate buybacks to expand their wealth with our money. And they are now turning around, and in the stimulus package, there's $500 billion more for those companies. So if you want to be upset about something, okay, that's something to be upset about, not about the $35 billion to refurbish the Kennedy Center. Should that, you can make the argument that maybe that shouldn't have been there. I'll accept that argument. But if you're willing to accept that, then I want you to be upset about what I just told you. And then I'm going to give you one more thing to be upset about. The cruise lines, Carnival, Royal, and all of them, they are not American corporations. Their corporations are registered in Iberia, Panama, and Bermuda. So
to avoid U.S. taxes.
There you go. So they don't pay any U.S. taxes. Now I want you to listen to this very carefully, Winnie. They don't pay any U.S. taxes, but they're asking Americans to give them a bailout help.
Oh.
You didn't know that, did you?
No. That's terrible.
Okay, now that is something for you to get upset about. Not the $35 million of Nancy Pelosi. And while you're on that, let me just stay on this. They have tried to make Nancy Pelosi the boogeyman in the House. For years, all you can hear, Nancy Pelosi this, Nancy Pelosi that. Nancy Pelosi this, Nancy Pelosi that. Nancy Pelosi what? What did she do? Now, here's my point, and I know the phone's going to start lighting up when I say this. First of all, I never hear anybody say anything in particular that she's done other than the fact that she's a progressive and a Democrat. But here's the other point that I want to make. Boehner wimped out and ran from the job because he couldn't control his caucus. And after he couldn't control his caucus, Paul Ryan got the job as Speaker, and he wimped out and ran from the House because he couldn't control his caucus. And Nancy is there, and she controls that caucus like an orchestra leader, and she does it with class and distinction. Now, you may not agree with all her decisions, but she's no wimp like Boehner and Ryan running out because they didn't have the ability to be able to control their members. So anyway.
Okay. Why they need the money put into the Kennedy Center? That's what I want to know. Why?
I think she wants to. I think she wants to refurbish the Kennedy Center.
She want what?
Refurbish the Kennedy Center.
Oh, well, somebody said they got their own money to do that with, don't they?
Well, I don't know. Do you know that to be so? Just want to know why she put that. But they gonna go for it. They gonna pay for it. I don't know. I don't know if it was improved or they cut it out. They might have taken it out. But anyway, Winnie, thank you for calling. I got another caller.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And Randy on line 3. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Randy.
Yes. Hey, how you doing, Rudy?
Okay.
All right, I was calling you about the felon deal. I've been here all my life in Martin County and St. Lucie County, and, I had a problem when I was 20 years old. I didn't really commit a crime, but I guess they said I did. I was at the wrong place, the wrong time, and I got a breaking and entering on me, even though I was standing out by the car, didn't know what the guy was doing. I was dumb, stupid, didn't have a lawyer, didn't have no money, and really didn't fight it. So I had to deal with I was a felon. And the thing is, about 10 years ago, they gave me my rights back without my permission. I guess that's how it works. But however, I guess I'm a half a man because with the rights you get back for being a felon, you don't get your gun rights back. So I guess my point is you're just giving me one part of the deal about what Cliff was talking about. You were talking about, yes, I am a felon. Yes, I did my time. Yes, I did pay all the bills, everything associated with it. I'm 50, going on 58 this month. I wrote a letter to, which I'll probably die before I even get it back. I wrote a letter to the Clemency Board in Florida and said that I'm productive. I own a bunch of rentals, about 18 rentals now. I have had a business here for 30 years, building docks and seawalls, and no reply, which I'll probably never get a reply. I guess I'm a half a man. Is that right or wrong?
I think that's wrong. I think
it is too.
Yeah, I'm on your side. If you did your time and you have been a productive citizen, I see no reason why you shouldn't be able to own a firearm, unless the only exception to that I would make is if you were a violent felon. If you were a violent felon, I wouldn't. But as long as you were not, you listen. Here's what I'm going to say.
What I will.
I'm going to say this, and there's going to be some people that will probably disagree with me. When we are kids, we do dumb stuff, and there's lots of
20
us.
Years old.
There's lots of us that did dumb stuff and didn't get caught, or the luck of the Irish was on their side, or God was looking down and kept you out of trouble. But there's plenty of people that did dumb stuff that they got caught. They would have been in the same situation as you. A decent human being made a mistake. Happens. I'm on your side, though.
Well, what I'm also saying is that, like I said, I've been productive. I've owned a business, never been in trouble again, and going on 58, that's many years later. And, with things happening now, and they'll go away, and other things will come, and they'll go away. I live on 7.5 acres, and I need my gun to defend my family. I have a 13-year-old girl and a wife, and it's kind of I think it's wrong. Why would they give me my rights back, but only half of them? That I thought, as you said earlier, that they tried to pull a quickie and it was overturned. But why don't they give you your gun rights back if they're giving you your rights back? I'm lost.
I can't answer that, but I certainly think that would be the kind of thing you should take up with your representative. I guess you'd be represented by Mast.
Yeah, well, I'll never get nowhere.
What if he got with a lawyer who could help get him? Well, they can wipe a slate clean. Because I remember a guy that got in some kind of trouble, and he did his probation, and they exonerated him afterwards, so there's no record anymore. You might find.
Well, the thing is, they don't. Not to interrupt you, but they don't give it to the. They were talking about giving it to your local courts for your judge to decide, but they haven't changed it. It's only up to the governor to sign off or not. Kind of like when you get out of prison and they go before the board after you're doing so many years and they say, okay, we'll let them out or not. They decide in Tallahassee is what I've been told, and 10 years later I keep calling and nothing yet.
Yeah, well, I would just tell you I'm on your side, so I'm not sure what you can do, but I think I would try your representative, the House representative, and if no luck there, try your senatorial representative. But,
all right, well, I just thought I'd bring it towards your attention because you mentioned, like I said, I'm a half a man or half a woman or whatever, a person is, and I just think that if you give them the rights back and what you said, if they did their time, they served it, even if, they paid, if they can afford it or not, I mean, that's different, but you did your time, and, I mean, you should be able to get all your rights back. It's all right.
I agree with you. I told you, as long as you were not a violent felon, I do think you should have the right to own a firearm.
Right. No, I wasn't, but.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you for your call.
Okay.
Bye.
Rudy, I'm afraid that there are too many citizens out there with concerns that fall upon deaf ears when they call governors and representatives and stuff like that. It happens too much. Do we need to cry out louder, or the lawyers are very expensive?
Yes,
to speak on your behalf, and if you got the money, yeah, sure. But if you're broke, you're going to go to jail. You're going to go to prison because you don't have the money for an expensive lawyer that can get you out of anything.
Well, I think what this might be a case, and I probably gave him some misdirection. I told him to talk to Mass. What he should talk about, his local House representative, as opposed to congressional representative, because they have the direct line to Tallahassee. So he really needs to talk to somebody, his House representative, and then let them try to bring that to the attention of the governor. I think that's the way to go.
That's like going over the governor's head, but you got to.
Yeah.
You got to.
Okay. Now, here's one. Given what we're going through right now, do you think we should have vote by mail?
Don't we already have that?
Yeah. But I'm saying...
Oh, mandatory vote by mail.
Yeah. Oh. So that you don't have to go to a polling place. Now, in Florida, for the most part, you can vote by mail. I think there is some variations of vote by mail depending upon the county, because each supervisor of elections is unto themselves. But I think now, and why do I bring that up? Because President Trump made a statement that I think is very interesting. President Trump said he would oppose vote by mail because he said if they allow vote by mail, Republicans would never win another election. I thought that was very interesting. Republicans would never win an election if they allowed vote by mail. And we got Paul on line one. Yes, sir.
Hey, Rudy, how you doing?
Okay.
Hanging in there like the rest of us. Okay, I got well, it's not really funny. I guess it's kind of an odd story. I was shopping today. The name of the store, I'll just remain nameless, but anyway. And I was talking to the checkout lady, and she told me, because we were talking about all the masks and gloves, and I mean, people were looking like astronauts in there today. It was unbelievable. Honestly, goggles and hoses and masks and hats, rubber hats and stuff. I mean, it was crazy. Yeah. But anyway, she said this one guy came up. Now, he had no gloves on his hand. And he pushed her aside and he said, nope, never mind. I will scan my own groceries and I will bag it myself. And she let him do all of that. And then when he left, she started laughing because he was touching everything, all those groceries and everything that she would have been touching anyway. So he accomplished nothing by forcing her out of the way. And I'm kind of surprised that she let him do that anyhow. But I just, the stories that are coming out of this thing are just too crazy. But they're starting to get a little more stock on their shelves. I know there's some stuff is still scarce, like paper goods. At least you can get some groceries to eat for a week. So yeah. I just thought I'd run that by you. That was kind of a funny story.
Yeah, I was in a Cumberland Farms on last Friday, and this lady was standing in line, and I was standing behind her, and a buddy of mine happened to come into the Cumberland Farms at the same time I did, and the guy came in Cumberland Farms, and he stood right up behind the lady.
Oh, boy.
Yes, exactly. She turned around and cussed him like a sailor.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
lady?
She did. Yeah. So I'm standing there. I didn't say a word. And my buddy came by and he said, well, Ruth, this is a hell of a way to start the day, right? I said,
no, bro. Surprise. I mean, you got road rage and now you got grocery shopping rage. It's crazy.
Well, people are afraid. People are afraid. Yeah. They're afraid.
I know. So, all right, well, you guys take care. I just thought I'd run that by you.
Okay, thank you for sharing that with us, Paul.
All right, bye-bye.
Yeah.
Getting good calls tonight, Rudy.
Yeah. I got to tell you, though, that people are afraid. And part of that fear is and I know this, I'm not playing politics. I'm just making factual statement here. Part of the fear is from the inconsistent information that we've been getting from the president. Because those of you who love him and believe everything he says, then he turns around and he says something different only a week or a few days later. Now you're already apprehensive because you're afraid that you could get something that will kill you. And now you don't know what to believe because your hero is telling you one thing, then he turns around and tells you something else. That is really adding frustration. Just like, I'm going to give you an example. I got probably a half a dozen very close friends in New York. None of them are complaining. I talked to all of them in the last couple days. And you know why they're not? Cuomo comes on. He gives them the information. He doesn't sugarcoat it. He tells them what it is, tells them what they need to do, how they need to prepare. That is leadership. So when they finish hearing him talk, they're not getting another message 3 days or 4 days later or a week later that's different from what he said just then. That's why they're calm. All of my New York friends are very, very calm. And I got friends in Long Island. I got friends in Queens. I got friends in the Bronx. And I got friends in Brooklyn. None of them, and I spoke to all of them this week, and all of them are relatively calm. That is a major, and I've tried to say this to somebody recently, that is a major, major difference between what he does and what President Trump does. Trump comes on and he tried to blow smoke up your dress. He just does. And And then because you love him, next week he tells you something different, and then you go, now you know, what do I believe now? It went from, oh, it's only 15 cases and it's going to disappear like magic. And now we got thousands and thousands of cases and thousands of deaths. So what do you believe? Now, here's my opinion, my humble opinion, and I don't expect you to adhere to what I have to say, but it's just my opinion. When you have a person in that position that's that powerful and you're not sure whether they're telling you the truth or not, that's not the right person to lead us. Just isn't. Just is not the right person to lead us. And I'll give you something else, too, that most of you probably haven't heard, especially if you listen to Fox, because you'll never hear it on Fox. Do you know that we gave away 17.8 tons of personal protection equipment to China?
In the light of this virus?
Before it hit us. Well, let me take that back. Before he acknowledged that it hit us. Mike Pompeo was the one that organized that. We gave away 17.8 tons of personal protective equipment to China. Now, why would we do that? Because that was impulse. That was not thoughtful. And that is generally, unfortunately, an earmark of our president. He's very impulsive. Just like, and again, let me give you an example of why I say people are frustrated. A week ago, he told us that on Easter Sunday, the churches would be full and we'd be going back to work the following day.
And now we see what's happening to the pastors that are continuing to hold their services on Sunday morning. They're locking them up.
Yes.
Now, that's something else that's unprecedented here in the U.S.
Yeah, but DeSantis took care of that today. And you know why? Because he put as essential services houses of worship, pastors, and churches. So he exempted them.
Times like these, yeah, that's the right thing to do.
He exempted them from a shelter in order. Now, I could tell you, my pastor won't be holding a in-person service on Sunday. And my sister's church, who's probably listening right now, will not be having an in-person service on Sunday. But I use that example to give you an understanding of why people get frustrated. That's two different messages in the span of a week. And you're trying to get your arms around something that's scaring you and it's confusing, and now you're not even getting the right information to help you make the decision. That is a problem. And then on top of that, okay, and this is where I have severe criticism of Mr. Trump. If you say anything to him that he doesn't like, he tries to rip you to pieces and he won't let you answer the question. He won't answer the question. But he starts calling you incompetent. He calls you names. I've never seen anybody in a press conference, a president, doing that. You better have some tough hide if you want to be a president. And if you walk out onto that podium in front of the press, you got to expect that you are going to get some criticism.
You know why they call it the press, don't you?
Yes.
It's what they do to grapes. You press them to squeeze the wine out of them or the juice out of them. that's what the press does. It presses you for information.
If you are president and you expect that every time you step out there that you're never going to get a tough question, you're living in la-la land. I have never in my adult life seen any president that went through and never got a tough question when he was holding a press conference.
The press doesn't really care who the president is as
No.
long as they can get in there and push to get all the information that they want.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's the nature of the beast.
Yeah. So that's and he's just too thin-skinned. He's too thin-skinned. And I'm going to tell you this also. As a person who was an ex-athlete, a chubby one now, but a pretty good athlete, I wouldn't have him on my team. I wouldn't play with him because when he makes a description, it's always about him. It's about what I did and how I conquered. And if you're a person that played sports, you may have a person on your team who is the star, but it's about the team. You can't win it all by yourself. And great players like even Michael Jordan, some of the big shots that were hit that won games was not Michael Jordan, it was Steve Kerr. With LeBron James, when if he sees his teammate open, he's going to pass him the ball and let him shoot. So for me, this is strictly my assessment, I would say, no, man, I'm not playing with that guy. Because that guy will be a ball hog. He won't pass the ball if you're open. Because really, the person that should be carrying this ball is the scientist. Let the scientist speak.
Let the team scientist.
Yes, right. That's the team.
Yeah. That's the game and that's the team.
Yeah, that's the people. Be the captain. You know, some of the great coaches were not great players. They know how to get the best out of the players because they knew how to be a good coach. That's your job, really, there, is to be the coach.
You've got to be able to inspire the team.
Absolutely, absolutely. Not suppress people if they say something you don't like. That's just not good. That's not good leadership. So now, I gotta bring this up because it's just bothering me greatly. I talked about it a little bit earlier. We gave corporations $1.5 trillion in tax cuts. We said we could not afford the cost of the ACA, the Affordable Care Act. We couldn't afford it. Not affordable. Now, I want you to think about that for a second. I was listening on the way coming here, and they've asked the president, now catch this now, because this is very important, to open up a special election period so people, for what is left available of Obamacare, people would have a special exemption to apply because they got laid off and they lost their jobs. He said no. So all those people that have been laid off and may have lost their employer-based insurance will have no insurance.
Yeah, that's the thing about a lack of a paycheck.
Right.
That's and with it, along with the bills and things like that. But if you're not working right now, and there are a lot of folks that aren't, and that perhaps explains why the surge in calls on the swap shop. I mean, people need money, and people need TP.
Yes.
You know we can joke around about it and laugh about it all we want to, but go try to find some. Go try, and there's somebody out there hoarding this stuff. People are hoarding toilet paper, and this might not be the appropriate thing to say about it, but it'll come back to bite them somewhere. It will.
Well, but see now, and let me tell you why I share this with my conservative friends. Some of you have probably been hurt by what's going on, and you may have lost your job. And if you lost your health insurance, if you had a chance, okay, and I'm going to tell you now, having been a guy, I used to do Obamacare. I stopped doing it because I didn't have markets, and if I had markets, I'd do it again. But if you were a person that got laid off and you lost your health insurance, you'd be able to get an affordable plan with the ACA. But if he doesn't, the enrollment period expired in November. He is within his power to create what's called a special election period that would allow you to apply for the coverage to take care of you and your family. And I just want you to think about this for a second. If you're a conservative without a job, you lost your job and now you have no health insurance, and your president won't allow an exception for you to be able to try to get some protection for your wife and kids, think about that. Smoke that over in your mind and see if that makes sense. And he doesn't want you to have health insurance, and yet he gave $1.5 trillion tax cut to corporations. He's about to give another $500 million to corporations, and you can't get health insurance. Make any sense to you? If you think that makes sense to you, give me a call. Explain it to me, because I don't. And listen, I'm safe. I have coverage. I'm protected. I've got nothing to worry about. So this is not a personal axe to grind. I'm grinding this axe on behalf of y'all. I ache that you would be in this position. We had 3 million unemployment claims last week. 3 million. And they know it could be twice that many because they weren't able to get on the phone and get into the unemployment line site. So think about it. Think about that. Does that make any sense to you? Does that make any sense to you? Is that consistent with your conservative values that you're treated that way? I don't know. You tell me. If that's consistent with your conservative values, call and straighten me out. 340-1590. We only got a few minutes left. But if that's consistent with your conservative values, and most of you, I've been accused of whining about health insurance. Yeah, and I probably do.
He's an insurance agent. If anybody knows about insurance, Rudy Howard knows.
Yes.
I mean, he's not just in here talking. He's a real insurance guy.
Yes.
So if anybody has any questions about insurance, I'd take his advice about insurance, wouldn't you? He's an insurance guy.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
and yes, if you want to classify all my discussions about the Affordable Care Act over the past few years as whining, I'll take the criticism. I have whined. But notice what I said before.
About whiners? It takes one to know one.
Yes. I ain't whining for me.
No.
Because I'm straight. I have coverage, and I am protected, and I have nothing to worry about. I'm whining for you guys that don't have it. I'm whining for your kids that may get a cold and you can't take care of it. But most of all, and I want you to carry this thought with you at the end of this show, how many times do you think you were in a restaurant and you had a server waiting on you that was sick and could not go to the doctor serving your meal? I wonder how many times do you think that has happened? I don't have a statistic that will quantify that, but just give that some thought about the fact that you could be going out to eat and you have a server who's serving you and the person is sick serving your food because they can't go to the doctor. Does that motivate you?
It should.
That should motivate you. So if you thought that the Affordable Care Act had nothing to do with you, I just showed you that you're affected by it too, because that server that was sick passed germs on to you because they were unable to get health insurance.
And this touches everybody, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
You know? I mean, there might not be somebody that you know right now, but sooner or later, somebody that you know and in your family will be affected by this. And I want you to know that you're all trying to do the right thing.
That's it.
Wash our hands, keep that 6-foot distance, and try to avoid the crowds. And, you know, we can do this together. This isn't something strange that we can't do together.
Yes, and I implore you to do one other thing. I reached out to some of my single friends on Facebook and told them if they needed someone to talk to, they could call me or they could inbox message me on Facebook, and I'd be glad to talk to them because some people will be shut in by themselves.
There are people that just need someone to talk to. Also, it's always nice to be like that.
Yeah.
Wow, guess what? We've come to the end of the hour. I'll just got to remind everybody that archives of this show, phone calls and all, are available on YouTube under WPSL TV on YouTube. See you there.
Okay, folks, thank you for tuning in to the African American Scene. God bless. Be safe. And I will see you next Wednesday right here for the African American.
The African American Scene with Rudy Howard is presented each week at this time by Howard Insurance in Port St. Lucie.